Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Ari Sussman from Collective Mining. We discovered this company this morning, actually, when we came across their news release that showed a pretty big drill hole in a target that is pretty far away from their other projects, which also have pretty large drill holes. Something that I found really fascinating about this management team is that they've had some pretty big wins in the past. One in particular was Continental Gold, which they sold for over $2 billion to Zijin. So we reached out and they accepted our invitation to have a quick chat. And we thought, hey, our audience would probably love to hear about this story and see if it merits more due diligence on their part if they're looking at investing in junior mining, and in particular, companies that have projects that could have quite a bit of scale. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Ari, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to our first ever conversation.
So it's the first time we've had you on. Let's start with a quick overview of Collective Mining.
Sure. Collective Mining is an exploration and development mining company focused solely on Colombia. It was really born out of ideas that myself and my team had after we sold our prior company, Continental Gold, in 2020 to Zijin Mining. I don't know if you're aware of that, but Continental Gold was a TSX listed company that we sold for approximately $2 billion. We had so many ideas in the back of our mind for Colombia, which is one of the most fertile, unexplored geological areas on the planet, and said, well, we had COVID hit and we were locked down. And so the ideas of holidays and fun, which originally was the plan, went out the window. And so the team got back to work and said, let's start to capitalize on some of these ideas. So we put pen to paper and started thinking about where do we want to go hunt, for the next major deposit. And that led us to where we are in Colombia, which is in a wonderful department named Caldas.
Okay, so today you guys just announced some pretty big drill results in, as I understand it, what was effectively a brand new target. You got 0.81% grams per ton gold equivalent over 646 meters. What color can you give us on this drill hole and what it means for the company?
So look, we're in a porphyry belt, okay? When you look at porphyry belts globally, they tend to be some random shape that can be up to like 6 by 6 kilometers in scale. Okay, so every porphyry belt has multiple porphyry or multiple intrusions. We recognize this opportunity. Next door to us, before I go into the specifics of the drill, next door to us is a company listed on the TSX named Ari Mining, which has the famous Marmato mine. Marmato is an almost 9 million ounce global gold resource that's been around for more than 500 years, and it's now in construction to build a large mine. And so recognizing this belt, we said, look, we think this is really fertile. I mean, the rocks are altered everywhere. They're full of metal everywhere. And so we went in, we blitzed this project with sampling, and we generated targets. And today we announced our second major porphyry discovery on the project, which you mentioned is at the trap target, where we drilled about 650 meters at 0.81 grams per ton from surface. Okay, interesting result for a number of reasons. One, it looks like we're in the upper levels of a porphyry system. We know that based on alteration. So the core is literally blitzed white, okay, which is phyllic or sericitic alteration. That's telling us that maybe the grade might improve and the density of mineralization might improve as we go deeper. Number two, that hole bottomed in mineralization. I mean, that was mineralized the whole way. We mistakenly stopped the hole at 646 meters, or around 665 meters. First 19 meters from surface to 19 meters was unmineralized. It was leached, and then we went into the zone. So we bottomed in mineralization in good grade. I mean, the last 11 meters was about a gram per ton gold equivalent. We should have kept going. So the system's definitely growing. The area itself is already, like, by mapping, from surface mapping and sampling, is like 2 by 2 kilometers in scale, and it's open. We got a work cut out for us. I mean, that's the exciting thing of exploration. When you make a discovery, it's what do we do next, is the question. And that's something we're going to really focus on over the weekend and start the rig turning next week.
So we look at this, it looks like there's a couple kilometers between this target and your other projects. And then you've also got the ability, as you just said, to go deeper. What's the focus now? Are you guys thinking about going into that space in between? Are you guys thinking about getting a lot deeper? What do you think's next for the drill program?
So we made a decision when we came in October of 2023. We sat down as a full team and said, let's plan for 2024. We have two directions that we could take as a company. The first direction, our flagship discovery, is called Apollo. It lies 3.5 kilometers to the southwest of this discovery today at Trap. We could take our money, we could go infill drill that, put a bunch of rigs on it, and push that by maybe the end of 24, early 25 into our first resource estimate. That was option one. And option two was to keep our exploration hats on and focus on seeing how much value we can pull out of this project through drilling. And we made the decision to go with option two. Let's keep drilling. So quickly after that decision, in mid-November, we built 2 pads at Trap. We put 2 rigs on, drilled 2 holes before Christmas break, and bang, here we are today. Our focus for 2024 is on growth. Okay, so we're going to be focused on Trap, new discovery. We're going to be focused on expansion of the Apollo porphyry system, not on infilling it. And we're going to be focused on, we hope we're going to be focused on another target just north of Apollo called Olympus. We have a drill hole outstanding that we've announced multiple times about. Visually, looks like we might have discovered another porphyry at depth there. We're going to wait and see. We'll have those assay results end of this month, early February. And we are going to drill 2 other targets that are called X and Tower. It's a lot to take in. But to get back to your real question is, what about the area between Trap and Apollo? We're going to explore on surface to generate new targets. It's unexplored. So there's like 3 kilometers, give or take, that needs exploration. It's fertile and might yield something worth drilling.
So Ari, forgive me, I'm not a geo, but as I'm sort of understanding what you're saying and looking at the results that you guys put out, it almost sounds like we have kilometers of porphyry. Is that accurate?
Correct. Of different porphyries. That is correct. And that's typical. Remember what I said, the 6 by 6 kilometer type of area is where porphyries tend to sit within from one setting, okay, one system. So that's what we found here. Look, it's not every day that you see something like this in exploration. You know the exploration business, you interview a lot of companies, right? Yeah. 99.9% are like lit matches. They burn out, yep. Right? Yep. The 0.1% that works, it works and it tends to work very well. I'm confident we're in that 0.1%. There is a mine here. I know there's going to be a mine here. What will it look like? How many deposits will get mined? That is what we're going to go drill and we're going to go try and get an understanding of. But this is pretty exciting, pretty rare. You don't make discoveries this quickly. And keep in mind, all this was generated by grassroots. This is not a project that's been drilled previously. There was no holes into Trap. Historically, there were no holes into Apollo ever historically. And we've gone and done this. And I'd like to sit here and say to you, we're geniuses. Okay, but we're not. Mother Nature has really done a wonderful job here for us. And it's our job to piece the puzzle together and continue to drill this thing and pull value out.
Now, I could probably look this up on CDAR, but so it's grassroots. How did you guys get your hands on this project? Did you guys stake it? Did you have to purchase it from somebody? How did you guys get this?
All of the above. So we purchased it almost exclusively from local Colombian owners or Colombian-owned companies, and then we staked the rest. I think what helped us was that we started doing this during COVID lockdowns. So fear, was in people's minds, and therefore they were more willing to sell. So that maybe in a perverse way helped us, but this was all acquired privately, and we will own it. It's an option agreement. We have different option agreements that consolidate for the project, but all of it will be owned 100% by us. No royalties, no debt, nothing attached to it. So it's a very clean structure.
How much do you guys have to spend on the property to get the 100%?
It's not so much spending. I mean, it's $4 million. We will sail past that commitment. It's total option payments that we have to make. So we have to make between now and the end of 2030 about $16 more million in payment. 12 million of that, though, will come between 2029 and 2031 and will be related to a production decision.
Chatting with you is like chatting with an adult in junior mining who clearly thinks differently than a lot of the other people out there in junior mining, which brings me to my next question. You were with Continental Gold. As I understand, that was your previous baby. I think I read you raised over $1 billion on that. And it sounds like you sold it for over a couple billion. How is it that and you guys raised a lot of this money from 2010 to 2019, at a time when it was pretty challenging to raise money for gold projects. So what is it that you're doing differently? How is it that you're thinking about junior mining differently than most of the pack?
Number one, go big and go home. Simple as that. Okay. Number two, do not fall in love with a maybe. Okay. If something looks like a maybe, put it to the side. Okay. So if you don't have a big target, stop. Okay. And you can determine that relatively quickly. That is the key. I see most other companies fall in love with small things. Okay. This is a game of getting into the wheelhouse of large companies. Therefore, you know their appetite is ferocious for large discoveries. So therefore, that's what you need to focus on. And most importantly, have really talented people. You know, that is the key. There's a shortage of talent in the mining space. You know, predominantly because it hasn't been sexy to go to school. You know, for mining for decades. It's not just 5 years. It's decades. So make sure you pay and you attract that talent, and put the best minds to it, and be able to make executive level decisions when you need to. You know, if you can build something big and put some nice economics around it, it will get bought, right? I mean, you know, majors have continued to try and grow and grow and grow, and that means their pipeline needs to be fed, and that's becoming harder and harder and harder, right? Sorry to use the euphemism 3 times, but that's been the case in mining. So it's go to places like Colombia that offer stable laws, good jurisdiction, but off the beaten path where it hasn't been picked over with drilling, and go for it. And that's what we do, and that's what we've done here. And I believe we'll end up selling this company again somewhere down the road.
So you guys are in Colombia. What can you tell us about Colombia as a mining jurisdiction, and how does the country feel about open pit mining?
So, okay, so Colombia has a very old mining jurisdiction. It's one of the world's largest coal producers. In fact, the world's largest open pit coal mine operates in Colombia. It's owned by Glencore. It used to be owned by Glencore, BHP, and Anglo American. Glencore bought it 2 years ago when prices were low. It's the oldest democracy in South America. It's got extremely stable law. In fact, the government system is identical to the United States. So there's check and balance between the national government and the states, which they call departments. And it's got a mining association that represents the industry and lobbies government. So that's to tell you how mature it is, right? There's a large scale association, which we're members of, you know, and you got big giant companies operating there. Drummond, Glencore, Rio Tinto's running around the country now, Drummond, etc. Open pit mining, I mean, most of the mines are open pit in the country, right? You know, there's a lot more open pit than underground mines. In gold, there's only 2 large gold mines producing right now. Okay, the one we built at Buritica for Continental Gold, and Aris Mining Segovia mine. They're both underground, but that is because that's the geology of them. B2 Gold owns a deposit called Gramalote in the country, which they were partners with Anglo Gold until recently. They bought it 100%. That's permitted as an open pit. I mean, that got permitted, I don't know, about 7 years ago. Never built it yet, but that's an open pit. So open pit mining is no problem in Colombia. You know, most are open pits, and like there's giant aggregate mines and you name it, open pits. So I get asked this question a lot. Somehow there's this fallacy in open pit mining, but we don't see any issue with it. It's as long as you're responsible and you do things, you know, to top level. I don't think there's a problem. In fact, the next project that I believe just applied for a permit is a small company called Cordoba Minerals, which we actually founded. Copper Gold Project, that will be an open pit. They just filed for their environmental license over the last month. So we'll see how that goes. I will add one other thing on Colombia. Why, you know, I mean, I'm pitching my own book, so to speak, but this will resonate, I think, with you as Canadians, okay? You know, investing, as we hear this thing, political safeness. Well, okay, so I live in the United States now. I'm Canadian. Okay, I'm from Toronto, but I moved to Miami. I wouldn't want to explore here because how do you permit a mine? It takes 10 to 15 years to get a license in this country. Colombia, by law, takes 8 to 10 months. That is the law. So you're going to get told yes or no in 8 to 10 months on a mine. That is the response timeline that is required. So you think about that on a global scale. That's very attractive, especially at this point in time where we have a global shortage of metals to feed the voracious appetite, whether it's gold for central banks or auto companies, for transition energy, etc. Colombia to me looks like an amazing country to be in to help feed that voracious appetite that's there.
Well, I mean, after the money that I'm sure your investors and yourself made on your previous acquisition, you guys could have gone anywhere in the world, right? And you chose to stay in Colombia. So that probably says something about how you feel about it.
I think the best analogy, it's Peru. It's geologically
okay.
Peru and similar to Peru in terms of population, but knock 40 years off the timeline, right? So it's Peru 40 years ago. And I think in 40 years, we're going to be looking at Colombia. There's going to be many mines, many successes, some failures, just like you see in Peru. Generally, the failures are associated with bad efforts done socially by companies. But I think that's what you're going to see. So you have lots of people, lots of education, lots of talent. You just need to do things very, very well and make sure that everybody's comfortable with what you're doing and you can move projects forward.
I got to ask you about the cap table just because it's something that really interests our audience. What can you tell us about where the bulk of the money's been raised? Is there any convertible debt? Are there any notable shareholders?
The management plus insiders own 45% of the approximate 60 million shares outstanding. We are aligned. We've participated in every financing round, from the high risk round privately, or 3 of them, all the way to the most recent round, which was at $4.25 last year. We're currently trading slightly under the last deal. So that's what we're there. I intend to participate in all our future financings, God willing, and hopefully. So we're aligned. We're going to make our money from shares, not from exorbitant salaries or anything of the like.
So this is the last question for you. So for investors watching, what timelines and milestones, or I could ask, what does a successful 2024 look like for Collective Mining?
So our goal, and I'm not saying it's achievable, okay, but our goal for the year is to not outline into resource, but demonstrate that the potential is here for 10 plus million ounces of gold equivalent ounces. So gold, silver, copper, and we even have tungsten in Apollo. And that is our goal. Where we're going to get there, I don't know, but that is the goal. So you're going to see big, high risk drill holes, whether they're step out at Apollo or now hopefully step out at Trap or testing new targets. You're going to see big impact drilling. And if you like exploration, I don't know of a better company to invest in than ours that will deliver that, because we're really taking big risks. That is the game of 2024. 2025 is going to be resource estimate year. Infill, and come out with a resource estimate or 2.
And it sounds like you guys have a lot to infill.
Plenty to infill. But the nice thing is in porphyries, I mean, previously, we drilled off 11 million ounces at Continental Gold of high-grade gold in veins. That requires a lot more density of drilling than porphyry systems. So we do have a lot of drilling to do at Apollo, let's say, but it's not going to require the tightness of drill spacing that a vein system requires.
Whenever I hear the term porphyry, and this is just maybe a Canadian retail investor in 2023, I always think copper, but this is primarily gold. Why is that?
Do you know Snowline? Have you talked to Snowline Gold? You've heard that name?
No.
So Snowline is a Canadian listed company that has a 900 million Canadian market cap on a discovery in Yukon. It's a gold porphyry. So what happens is, porphyries are formed at their roots with copper and gold, but sometimes you can have an event that reduces or prevents or dissipates the copper portion or the base metal portion of the system from coming up. At Trap, that's what it looks like happen. At Apollo, we have copper and gold and silver and tungsten in our porphyry. So it's 4 elements. right? But here it's gold only. But this is not uncommon. In Colombia, for example, years back, Anglo Gold drilled off a gold porphyry called La Colosa, 20 plus million ounces, of gold. It just, their copper didn't precipitate up. So that can happen. In fact, Marmato, our Aris Mining, the project next door, they're going into production on a much larger scale. It's in the small scale production. It's on a gold porphyry. It's not on a gold copper porphyry. So that can happen. You either get copper moly porphyries if they're older age. If they're younger, like we have, it's copper gold or gold. And so quite common. But, normally gold porphyries don't make it economically on their own. You usually need the copper component to kick the economics over the line, but sometimes they work.
Well, Ari, thanks so much for hopping on here. I think that this is a really interesting story, and hopefully you'll hop back on here in the future as we see some results begin to come in. But it caught our eye this morning when we saw your news release, and I wish you guys the best of luck as you guys continue to go put some more drill bits into the ground.
Thank you very much. An honor to be here, and let's talk again soon.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, everyone.